Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. Tonight we're going to be looking at watches in film. I myself am terrible at identifying watches when they're in movies or on TV shows, even though I stare at them throughout the entire time I'm watching them. So I have to rely on other people to identify those watches for me, and tonight I have a list of identified watches that are seen either on famous people's wrists, or in TV shows, or in movies. So let us begin. The first watch on my list comes from the TV show The Bear. And if you've never seen this show, it's a brilliant show about cooking. So the idea is a high-end chef has to come back home and help to manage the family's sandwich shop in Chicago. It stars Jeremy Allen White, which is probably why most people gravitated to the show in the first place. He's a pretty great actor. For me personally, I absolutely love shows and movies that are centered around cooking, namely high-end cooking. So this show was right up my alley when my wife suggested it. It's a great show, super high stress, super drama, not so much comedy, even though it's listed as a drama comedy. But yeah, I'll say no more, but you can watch it on Hulu. Great show. Definitely recommend it. And one of the watches in this show is a Breitling Premier B25 Datura 42 Copper. This watch shows up in the premiere of Season 2 as spotted by Time and Tide watches. The watch is worn by the character Cicero, played by Oliver Platt. I won't give you any further details on the scene itself, because I don't want to give anything away. You'll just have to watch the show. This watch has an amazing dial. It's a chronograph piece with a moon phase, and a day of the week and month window just below the 12. Around the moon phase is where the day of the month is called out. The case size on these watches is 42 millimeters, the case height is 15.3 millimeters, the caliber is a B25, the water resistance is 100 meters, and the cost is $14,000. Next up we have a watch on the wrist of Tom Brady. Tom Brady, seen here looking annoying. Oh, wait. We're here for watches, not opinions on football players that my entire family wishes would have retired much sooner, so that we wouldn't have to lose to him all the time. In mid-August 2023, Brady was at a Birmingham City football game, football, as opposed to American football. And the watch that he's wearing, apparently, is actually his son's watch. And what is it? A Rolex Jigsaw Emoji Day Date. This watch has a fun jigsaw puzzle dial, as well as words of inspiration instead of the day names, and emojis instead of the date values. The indices on these are cut sapphire. Brady's son's watch has the orange dial with the puzzle pieces on it. There's also a turquoise dial variant. They have fluted bezels and ship on a president bracelet. I haven't seen anything definitive on the pricing for these watches. In one thread, a commenter assumed that it was about $10,000, but it could be a lot more, I'm not sure. The case size is 36 millimeters, the caliber is 3255, it has 100 meters of water resistance, and the cost? Brady knows. And the spotting of this watch was reported by Hodinkee. Next up we have another celebrity watch spotting that Hodinkee wrote about. This time it's Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell is a maybe funny actor. He was great on SNL, his portrayal of President George W. Bush was great, it was mocking as satirical comedy should be, and yet at the same time he portrayed a guy who'd be fun to have over for a backyard barbecue. A much more fleshed out character than you usually see in politician mocking characters. He had some really funny movies back in the day, and Elf is still a Christmas tradition in our household, but I'm not sure about his newer work. And the watch that he was spotted wearing, a Zenith Defy Revival A3691. This is a brilliant looking red dial watch, and the purchase of Will's watch was pretty cool. He posed with Watch Mama on Instagram when he purchased it. Her post about it was pretty cool. I'll have to do a future video on that piece. The case size on this watch is 37 millimeters, the case height is 13.6 millimeters, and the cost is $6,900. Next up, we have a watch in a movie that was identified by Watches in Movies. I better be sure to cover this one now before all the images on the site vanish, like they have for nearly every other movie listed there. Apparently the website's been somewhat dead lately. The movie in question is Motherless Brooklyn. This is a 2019 movie that takes place in the 1950s, so of course any watches that are featured in it will be brilliant, and the watch we're talking about tonight is definitely that. The movie is about a detective with Tourette's who is trying to solve the murder of his only friend and mentor. I haven't seen this movie yet, but I feel like I need to. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it. It was written and directed by Edward Norton, who, if I remember correctly, is actually a nightmare to work with, at least as an actor. The watch that shows up in this movie is a vintage Lamarque. It is worn by the character Lionel Esrog, played by Norton. This is a vintage-size military/utilitarian watch with Dauphine hands and a brilliant-looking dial. I did a bit of searching online, but didn't find this exact piece. I'll do some further digging because this brand's other vintage pieces look absolutely amazing, and I feel like they warrant a follow-up video. Next up, we have a watch from another TV show. This watch was spotted by WatchID.com, and the show is True Detective. It's been a while since I've seen True Detective, but I remember really enjoying it. As a true crime lover, this offering was right up my alley. The coolest part about this entry is the watch was identified due to an interview with the prop master from this show and Stranger Things. Furthermore, the watch was not purchased specifically for the show, it was a piece in the prop master's kit. So it was a piece that she already had. The watch in question is a vintage Loris Title LR0021 quartz watch. I would personally love to see interviews with prop masters from every show or movie that features interesting watches. Bad Times at the El Royale, Pump Up the Volume, Don't Worry Darling, to name a few. Woody Harrelson, who also stars in the show, is wearing an unbranded Russian tank-style watch. The Loris is a Submariner-style watch with dot indices and a Mercedes hour hand. It is fitted with a rubber strap that has a wind velocity chart printed on it. By the way, it sounds like the prop master for this show, Linda Rice, has over 3,000 watches in her kit. That's crazy. For the last entry in this video, we have another Loris watch. And this piece was called out in a James Bond nerd website. The James Bond lifestyle website. They identify watches, cars, sunglasses, and guns, etc. in movies that feature James Bond alumni. In this case, it is Pierce Brosnan, in The November Man. I don't think I've actually seen this movie. The November Man is a spy movie based on the book There Are No Spies by Bill Granger. This movie is a project that Brosnan had in mind for some time after retiring from his James Bond role. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to watch this one. The watch Brosnan wears in this movie is a Loris chronograph with a definite military vibe. I've done a brief search for this watch and found one listing in a foreign language, as well as an out-of-stock Amazon listing, neither of which had a whole lot of details on the watch. It appears it has a mineral crystal though, and 50 meters of water resistance. So there you have it, some watches on famous people's wrists, or in TV shows, or in movies. Thanks for watching.